Well, good evening, everybody. It's 5 o'clock, so I'm going to get started since we've got kind of a night ahead of us with meeting teachers and all this other fun stuff. So my name is Lisa Roman. I'm one of the counselors here, and I am very happy to be here to talk to you tonight about college kickoff and to introduce a wonderful expert in the field of financial aid who will share with you the bulk of the presentation about financial aid. So we'll get right started. So this is our counselor assignment for juniors and seniors. We do have different alpha splits for sophomores and freshmen, but for the sake of tonight, since I would probably think that a lot of our audience would be juniors and seniors, we would just let you know this is our alpha split for who we work with, who the counselors work with. It's bothering me that Ms. Beresford's alpha split is not lined up, so I apologize for that. I'm not sure how that happened. Okay, so getting right into how colleges evaluate students. It really does depend on the type of college that the student is applying to. There's 2-year colleges, there's more like community colleges. There are 4-year colleges which range in competitiveness from the Ivy Leagues, which is the top competitiveness, down to 4-year colleges that are more accepting of students. So it really does depend on the school as to what would be used to evaluate students. But in general, the transcript almost always, I would say always, is used what the student did in high school, the courses they took, the rigor, obviously, and their grades. So that is almost always used, in fact, always used to evaluate a student for admission. Depending on, again, the school, your 4-year colleges, your more competitive colleges will require other things like letters of recommendation from teachers, from a counselor, extracurricular activities, and other things that students have done to demonstrate their leadership or how involved they are with their communities and how they're helping their communities too. Appearance of application. I know this probably sounds like a given, but it really is important to be emphasizing, and to the students out there, to you, of course, that appearance and typos and grammar and all of that is just really, really important. And there are many, many people in your world, at the school here, maybe even at home, who can help you proofread some of the things that you are turning in. So that's really, really important. With the competitiveness of what some of the colleges are, we would not want any of our students to be put aside for something as minimal as a missed letter or something like that. So SATs and ACTs, I put in parentheses if required, because over time that has become kind of a factor that has been used in some cases and not in others. Back in the day, I would say, as old as I am, they were almost always used for 4-year colleges admissions, but now research has shown that those tests are not always fair to all populations. And so some colleges have actually, on their own years ago, have decided to make those tests optional, meaning that they will include them, they will consider them for admission if the student includes them, but if they don't include them, they will not, and it does not penalize the student. So then COVID hits, and no one can take SATs and ACTs, so at that point, they became optional for every college that ordinarily used them. And now there's many colleges, I would say most that were optional because of COVID have stayed optional for now for the class of 2024, the current seniors. But it really, really is so important. I can't emphasize enough for the students to be the experts in the colleges that they are looking at for that reason. Because some colleges are looking at them and requiring them, so it really is difficult to say, but that's why we put it in parentheses, because they're not always required, but in some cases they are. So what should seniors be doing right now? Making an appointment with their counselor if they haven't already for their senior review. And I see some students of mine in here who I've already done a senior review with, so I'm very excited about that. But the senior review is really just a one-on-one appointment with your counselor to review your transcript, making sure all the credits are in place, all the testing is in place. By testing, I mean Regents testing. And everything that you expect you've had credit for, you are getting credit for, as well as, more importantly, what still is left to be completed to graduate. So that is really, really important. And then the second part of that is, how can we help you on your path after high school? And for some students, they don't need any help, and they'll just say, no, I think I've got this. I'll let you know when I need your help. And for other students, they're like, I don't really know what I'm doing. And that's all fine. We take the student where they are. There's no need for shame or embarrassment, because it's kind of a lot. And that's why we're doing this now, so that students have plenty of time for whatever their path is to have help and take it in pieces. Reviewing college application requirements and deadlines, very, very important. Again, having the student as the expert with all of the colleges, thousands of colleges that are out there. We certainly don't know all the deadlines and all the early deadlines and the regular deadlines and what's rolling and what's non-rolling. So we really do, it's very important for the student to be the expert, maybe even creating their own spreadsheet to write down the colleges that they're planning to apply to or are interested in, what deadlines they have, what majors they have, etc. Visiting colleges, if at all possible, it's really, really important to visit the campus that you're looking at, especially if it's far away. We know that that's not always possible, so we do have a number of college representatives who come and visit Oswego High School. Just a link, just to show you. Oh, maybe I'm not doing that. Okay, I thought it linked. I think that when I share this presentation, you should have the links, but it's also been included. Oh, gee, I just deleted my presentation. TJ? Oh, wait, maybe not. Hang on. Oh, there it is. Sorry. Okay. It's in that panic mode, like, uh-oh, what do I do? All right, thank you. Okay, sorry. Now I got it. I think I got it now. All right. Panic mode. Don't you just know when someone's ever staring at you and you kind of can't think if that was just me for a minute? Okay, good now. Okay. So again, I won't try to click on that link again, but we have a number of college representatives that visit OHS. Two actually tomorrow. Niagara University will be here tomorrow morning, as well as Le Moyne, two very popular colleges for our seniors, our students. So we do encourage students who have interest to meet with those representatives. It is often that the reps are there with just me, and I love to hear about their programs, but it's so beneficial for a student to sit with them, talk to them, hear about their programs, and maybe share a little bit about what they're looking for. But the list and the calendar of that has been shared out as well. College Day. We're bringing back a College Day college fair at Cayuga Community College. That has been since prior to COVID. We haven't been offering that, but the Oswego County Counselors Association, of which our counselors are part, are organizing this fair. So we are taking students on October 19th. You might have seen an email about that today. Just a short period of time, an hour in the morning, so the students will be gone for a total of 2 hours probably, and they'll have the opportunity to meet with several college reps at once. So we are excited to bring that back again. And if students are interested, they can sign up in the counseling office by Thursday, a week from today. Again, deciding on whether or not to take those ACTs or SATs. Counselors and teachers, letters of recommendation, depending on the college, of course. But if you're using the Common App, which we'll talk about in a minute, most likely you're going to be required a counselor recommendation and probably 2 teachers, but it really does depend on the college. For a counselor letter, we do ask the students to first complete the OHS Succeed survey. That survey has been emailed as part of the fall senior newsletter, and it will be emailed again as just a separate link. We do encourage students to include a safety school just to make sure that you know for sure that you'd be happy with a college that you would definitely get into. We don't like to see it when students have a lot of kind of far reach schools with nothing for sure, nothing guaranteed. Because then there's some scrambling sometimes at the end that we don't want to see happen. So we do encourage students to include a safety school that they're sure that they will get into. Okay, so starting applications now. Common App is just one common application for hundreds of colleges. So that's just important to know. When you can use that one, I would, except for if you're only applying to SUNY colleges, which is our state university system, which is an excellent college system. If you're only applying to SUNY colleges, I would use the SUNY application. It's just a slightly simpler. And then community college applications, if you're only looking to start out at a community college, I would go directly to their websites because you can often get a free application. If you applied to, say, Cayuga Community College through the SUNY website, you'd be paying $50 for that. If you go through their own website, you're paying nothing. So it's important to know that. College and career help sessions. That's something that we are doing on Tuesdays, starting in October and through November. So through all lunch periods and after school, there will be a counselor available to help students with their college applications, setting up the Common App, taking it in pieces, really, and also for students that aren't sure what they want, going through some career things, too. Requesting letters or requesting transcripts is a process. I'm not going to click on that link, but trust me that when you press on it, normally it goes to our online request system, and that is for official transcripts. In order for us to send your transcript or include it with your applications, it has to be requested. It can be either by the online form or a paper form in our office. The important thing about that is to build in time, 10 school day advance notice. We are very, very busy processing applications, meeting with students in classrooms, and lots of things like that. So we do ask students to be timely, to look at their deadlines, back that up to 2 weeks to account for all of what everyone has going on. And following up early and often. We always want to make sure. A lot of places have portals now where you can see what is missing or what's been accepted. So we definitely encourage not to wait for that, and certainly let us know if something appears not to be there. Thanksgiving vacation is a goal deadline for students to have their applications in, unless the deadline is sooner, obviously. So there are some early action, some early decision deadlines, and just a little bit of a difference of what is early decision and what is early action. Early decision is a binding contract. That is, if you are 100% sure that you only want school X, you are going to put in for that college. If you go early decision, that means that you are telling them that you are my number one school. If you accept me, yeah, I'm coming there. And I will withdraw all other applications from anywhere else. So that one is slightly risky. So we certainly say be very careful if you are to use that. I have seen students apply that way and then panic when they change their mind or had something happen. And it's kind of hard to get out of that if you can. So early action is a non-binding earlier deadline, and students find out sooner. So a lot of students use early action versus early decision. Okay, so what are counselors doing? Obviously, this presentation is part. And senior fall newsletter, you should have received that. We sent it out through Jupiter Grades and also Parent Square. We did a senior seminar survey for students. We are in English classes this week, so prior to that, we sent out a survey to our seniors for them to give us information about what they are in most need of and what we can help them with, so we could tailor our presentations better. Okay, senior seminars and English classes. We finish up tomorrow with World Lit and AP English tomorrow. Senior reviews, I already mentioned the importance of those. College rep visits, where we arrange those, and we hope students will use those. College Day at Cayuga Community College, which is October 19th. We just mentioned that. And those help sessions we talked about. And mainly acting as a coach to our students. Okay, we want to be supportive. We certainly want to listen to our students and what they're asking and needing, but we don't want to be really making decisions for the students, obviously. So parents who are out there, what can you be doing? Encouraging them to treat that college or career application process as a job. Okay, it's definitely needs to be a priority. In some cases, the applications are lengthy, and other applications, say like 2-year college applications, are not as lengthy. So really just treating it like a responsible job, and kind of coming back to it every so often tends to be a good way to make it be bite-sized, really. Independence, fostering independence in our kids. It's really tough to watch a student who is either struggling or to watch them floundering or to watch them procrastinating. And that's really difficult to not take over and not force. And we really do, in our experience, have seen that students who are fostered that independence and encouraged to do it on their own do end up thriving much more when they leave the high school setting, whether it's college, whether it's a job, or anything else. We definitely need to be helping our kids let go of the reins a little bit and letting them and encouraging them to do it on their own with support. And again, resisting that urge to take care of things. So other students in the audience who are not seniors, what can you be doing right now? MyNextMove.org to research careers in colleges if you are unsure of what direction you would like to go in. It's a great website. It's always changing, and it's also, you are always changing. So each time you take an assessment on that, you might get different results as far as careers. Obviously doing your best in school, putting your best foot forward, trying to challenging yourself every year of high school, whatever that means. For some people that means no honors classes. For some that means 2 honors classes, and for some it means all honors classes. Whatever that means to you, that you are challenging yourself, we encourage you to do that. Attending College Day for juniors and seniors. College Night in the spring for those that are not seniors. That is going to be April 10th. It's at SUNY Oswego. There will also be an admissions presentation as part of that, which will be more of a general admissions presentation for different types of levels of colleges and all of that. And then the PSAT, that is being given on October 21st, and the deadline to register is October 2nd. There is an email through Jupiter Grades and Parent Square, and another one's coming out tomorrow. So if you're interested in taking that test to see the PSAT as a practice SAT, to see how you would do, it's not a bad idea to do that. It also can get you linked up with colleges that can send you information. And as well as for juniors who take it, there is opportunity for the National Merit Scholarship Program. So NCAA eligibility, we put this in here for all grade levels because we do have athletes who leave here and play sports in college. So it's really important to know that if you're competitive and you're able to play at the Division I or II level, and that is a goal of yours, then there are some very important and strict measures that need to be taken. Usually by junior year, a student who might be talking to a coach or thinks that they're at the level of 1 or 2 would need to register through the clearinghouse, and a transcript would need to be sent from their high school so they can review your courses. But there are very specific courses that are required. So as young as 9th grade, it's important to know that if this is something you feel is in your future or in your son or daughter's future, this is something to be looking into. Academically eligible, they must be. And it's really important to communicate that with your counselor, because your counselor doesn't know necessarily who the athletes are, what levels they can perform at. So it's very, very important to be very clear that, I'd like to let you know that my son is looking at lacrosse at D2 level, whatever. So then we would go through and have that on our radar, and there is a checklist also that can go along with that. So for students, striving for independence kind of goes along with the parents and resisting the urge for parents to take over and trying to help students, like over-help students. We want our students to seek help when they're struggling with any academics. We want you to learn how, if you haven't, to communicate with your teachers, your coaches, yourself, and really resist the urge to have a parent reach out. People in your world, at least here, your teachers, your counselor, we're all here to help, and sometimes issues might arise that need to be resolved, and it's really to the benefit of the student to be able to make that contact with the teacher, with the counselor, to be able to talk through whatever it is, and it almost always ends up better. and again, resisting the other way for your parents to take care of it for you. Just because, again, we see that the students who are taking this type of advice, and the parents too, end up with much more independent students as they leave here. In some cases, if they're leaving town or going far away, it's much better to be able to know that this child or you are able to rely on yourself when you get to a situation where you're not familiar and you're not at home. So it's really good to have that practice while you have a safety net now. Okay. So this time I'm going to turn this over. I'm very thrilled to have Molly Dorsey, who is from SUNY Oswego's Financial Aid Office, and she is a senior financial aid advisor. She's going to be sharing her wisdom with us and in the wonderful world of financial aid. So thank you, Molly.
SUNY Oswego. So it's an exciting year for the FAFSA this year. There's huge changes that we don't even fully know about. So this will be an adventurous year for everyone, including people in financial aid. The 2024-2025 FAFSA is to determine how many people have filed a FAFSA before. I'm an older student, just a couple mostly. So it's the federal aid application. If you're attending a private school, there's another application that they have you do. But for any school to get federal and state aid, you start with the FAFSA. So this year they have changed. It used to be an EFC. So if you've done a FAFSA before, you might be familiar with the term EFC, which was expected family contribution, and was very confusing. So now they've finally changed it to SAI, which is Student Aid Index. So this upcoming year, is SAI instead. So the student and at least one parent, unless it's an independent student, which is a small population comparatively. So the student and at least one parent need to electronically sign the FAFSA. So you go on and make an FSA ID, and you'll probably, I'll talk about the changes. Sorry, we're still really learning about all the things that are going to change this year. So the FSA ID you will use for the application and for all your years in school, that you'll do the application every year. But if you take student loans to log into the federal site, to access your loan information, that FSA ID is very important. So and on the same website, studentaid.gov, you'll file the FAFSA. And I'll show I don't want to screw up my slideshow too, so I'll show you the website at the end. So this was last year's upcoming FAFSA information. They've been opening it in October. None of this is true anymore. So this year, the FAFSA Simplification Act goes into effect. It's supposed to make the FAFSA simpler for people to fill out. We'll see. We've seen a little bit of some drafts of what it is. It does eliminate some questions, so it should be a shorter form, but I don't know if the questions are going to sound more confusing, or it's not finished yet. So they're saying that it will be ready in December. So our prediction is that it will be around December 31st that it finally comes out. So hopefully the FAFSA will be available sometime in December. you'll use, for the 24-25 FAFSA, you'll use the 2022 tax return. A few years ago, they switched to 2 years before instead of just the year before because so many people hadn't finished filing yet. So the IRS data retrieval tool, which it used to be optional on the FAFSA, will now be required. So if you filed taxes in 2022, you will be required to link it with the IRS information when you complete the FAFSA. The data retrieval tool has improved over the past probably 10 years that they've had it, but I imagine that this year there will be some glitches. So just be prepared. Fill it out as best as you can. There's always, you can go back in and make corrections. If you have trouble with it, you can submit it, and you can come to our office and we can help you. You can contact the school that you're attending. They can help you. So don't worry about totally messing up your FAFSA. If you answer something wrong, if you put in wrong information, it can be corrected. It's all fixable. At the end of the FAFSA, this is important, is the New York State TAP application and Excelsior. So you should use the link at the end of the FAFSA when you complete it. The TAP application is normally released at the same time as the FAFSA, so we assume that whenever the FAFSA is finally ready, hopefully closer to December, they'll give us an actual date. Then the TAP application should be ready. So then when you submit the FAFSA on the confirmation page, it'll say, do you want to complete your state application? You can use that link. If you don't use that link, then you have to wait a week to do it. So normally filing as early as possible is in your best interest. This year, I'm going to say wait a week after the FAFSA does open. Don't be the first person to file this year because we don't know if everything is really going to work. I mean, it will work eventually, but better to not be in that first week of applications. So this, I just mentioned some of this stuff. So the EFC is replaced with SAI, and they're changing the way that it calculates the Pell eligibility. So it used to be, and this is probably more than anybody needs, but it would calculate the Pell, and then the Pell would affect what other aid you were eligible for. So now it's going to calculate the Pell, and then the SAI will be used for other aid. So it's supposed to increase the Pell eligibility for people and expand the Pell program, which is great. And hopefully it all works the way it's supposed to. They're changing the way they collect family size information, which a lot of us in financial aid are wondering about because prior to this, they would ask for number in the family and then number in college. So they're not going to be collecting the number in college anymore. So we haven't seen the final way that they're calculating the aid eligibility. The Pell Grant is now linked more to the family size and the federal poverty level. So if you're at a certain percentage of poverty level, that's how it calculates if you'll be eligible for Pell. And then if you're not at that level, then it's similar to the older calculation. As you can see, I'm still learning. Most schools, all schools will have software that calculates what it is going to be. But we up until now, we've had a chart that we could pull out and we could look at what your EFC was and tell you exactly how much Pell you would get. And now it's totally different. So it is. So this is all part of the Future Act that's going into effect this year. Tips and tricks, these are very important. This is the one thing, I know I said, don't worry about it, if you screw something up on your FAFSA, it'll be fine. Very important not to screw up is your social security number and date of birth. We see a lot of people who mess up their social security number or the date of birth, and it can really mess things up. It won't link, it won't load into our system, and it can keep causing problems. So make sure you are using, this is for students and for parents, that you have the correct social security number and date of birth before you start. If you when you're making your password, use the show text button, and if you lose or forget your ID and password, use the buttons that say, I forgot my ID, I forgot my password. If you get your password wrong 3 times, it will lock you out. So that's not fun. Don't try to make a new ID or start a new FAFSA if you make a mistake. That can cause problems too, because then you end up with multiple FAFSAs, and that causes problems. So if you have a hyphenated last name or have a name with like the third or junior, make sure you're using it the same way every time. That can also cause mismatches. If you're having trouble making a password, read through the password rules. And very important also, you're filling out the FAFSA as the student. So if you're the parent filling it out, don't answer the questions unless it says this is a question about the parent. That's another common error. And always use the TAP application at the end of the FAFSA. So what is financial need and how is it determined? This is what I mentioned about that will be changing with the new SAI and the Pell calculation. So financial need is the difference between your student aid index and the college or university cost of attendance. So your SAI will be assigned by the FAFSA calculation, but the amount of aid you get at different schools could change, or the amount of subsidized loan compared to unsubsidized loan or need-based aid. The Pell will always be the same, but the other aid can change because the cost of the school affects what you're eligible for. The cost of attendance includes tuition, fees, room and board, books, personal expenses, and transportation. Some of the wording of those things is also changing with the FAFSA simplification. So instead of room and board separately, it will be living costs, but in general, those are the things that the cost of attendance includes. So Pell will be determined separately now, and then the other cost, the way they are subtracting the SAI from the cost of attendance. I hope it's very confusing for us, so I'm sure everybody is. So what is financial aid exactly? Scholarships, grants, loans, the part that nobody wants to hear about, and employment opportunities in the work-study program. Grants, scholarships, employment, none of that is repaid. If you have a federal work-study job, you get a paycheck for it like you would any other job on campus. Loans have to be repaid. Federal and private loans are typically, federal loans for sure, are deferred until the student is out of school. Private loans, that's a choice you make with the lender, and that your interest rate is based on what choices you make with repayment. Examples of grants and scholarships. The Pell Grant, which is the main federal grant, which hopefully will be available to more people starting next year. SEOG is like an addition to the Pell Grant. The qualifications are different. It's different schools. It's a federal grant. Different schools are allotted different amounts. So you might be offered SEOG at one school and not at another. And it's mainly based on how much SEOG money that school has been allotted. The TEACH grant is a federal grant for teachers, for teacher programs. It's specific to certain majors. The New York State grants and scholarships, the TAP grant is the one that's been around for years. APTS is Aid for Part-Time Study. It's part of TAP. They're kind of merging. Things in the state are changing too. So TAP used to be only for full-time students. Now it can be part-time as well. The Excelsior, which I'll talk about a little bit more, is the New York State scholarship, the free tuition scholarship. And then there's other local scholarships, school scholarships. If you attend a private school, a lot of the private schools that are in the mid-range expense-wise will offer scholarships to students that will bring the cost of their school down to what a SUNY school is. So be aware when you're looking at your award packages from different schools, look at the bottom line, because a lot of those schools you'll see, I'm getting this huge scholarship, but when you look at the bottom line, it's bringing it down to the cost of a SUNY, which is great, because then you can choose between the two, but some people look at the scholarship and not the final cost. So the New York State Excelsior Scholarship has been around for about 6 years now. It's for students whose the federal adjusted gross income in the family is $125,000 or less. It will pay up to $5,500 toward tuition at a SUNY college and university, and then there's what's called an Excelsior tuition credit that brings it up to the full tuition amount. However, if there's an award like Pell or TAP that already counts towards tuition, then it reduces what you can get in the Excelsior. So if this year a student is eligible for full Pell, which is over $7,000, and they're getting full TAP, which is over $5,000, they're not eligible for the Excelsior. It's a confusing, what adds to the confusion is that when you fill out the Excelsior application, it will tell you, congratulations, you're eligible for Excelsior. But the second part of that is that you qualify for $0. So be aware. We encourage everyone, even if you think you're on the cusp of the income requirement, fill out the application. It doesn't hurt anything to fill out the application, but if you're getting other aid that can count towards tuition, it will count against the Excelsior. So there's also a lot of rules to it. You have to enroll in at least 12 credits a semester, which is the normal. 12 to 15 is a normal full-time load. And you have to earn at least 30 credits per year. So if you're only registering for 12 credits a semester, you still have to meet that 30 credit requirement at the end of the year, which means you have to take summer or winter courses. So that's something to be aware of too. And then you also have to commit to living and working in New York State for as many years as you receive the scholarship. If you don't meet that commitment at the end, then it turns into a 0% interest loan. It's at the same, they've changed the application a little this year, and it is a little bit easier, but it's hesc.ny.gov, which is also where the TAP application is. And all of these, any of the TAP and the FAFSA, the student aid website, are on a handout that Mrs. Roman will have online, as well as this presentation. So you can download all of it. And I'll show you those websites at the end. So are scholarships worth applying for? Yes, definitely. Also on the handout, there is a list of scholarship search sites that you can go on, and there's tons and tons of scholarships out there that people do not apply for. So make a spreadsheet. What are you applying for? What does each scholarship need? Does it need an essay? Is it just an application? Get out there now and start applying for scholarships. The loan programs, students can borrow. There's a limit to how much federal loans students can borrow. Parents, there's federal loans. There's private loans for parents or students. Students can receive subsidized or unsubsidized direct loans, which are the federal loans. You'll also hear them called Stafford loans. It's all the same. There's a limit to how much students can borrow that has not changed for years. And only a portion of the federal loans can be subsidized. Subsidized means there's no interest until after the loan goes into repayment. So that's the better portion of the loan. However, they typically, the past few years, they've had the same interest rate. It used to be the unsubsidized loan was a little bit higher, or they would be a little bit different. Now, the past probably 6 or 7 years, they've been the same interest rate. Subsidized doesn't accrue until after the loan is in repayment. They did go up this year as well. The PLUS loan is the parent loan. It's a federal parent loan. And then alternative or private loans. Hopefully, we'll see interest rates go back down in the next few years, but right now they're not great. They do change every year. So student borrowing, freshmen can borrow up to $5,500, which is small compared to the cost of college now. Up to $3,500 of that can be subsidized. Sophomores, it's $6,500. Up to $4,500 can be subsidized. Juniors and seniors, $7,500. Up to $5,500 can be subsidized. There is a loan repayment estimator on studentaid.gov. There's a brand new SAVE repayment plan that has a lot more loan forgiveness built into it. Federal Parent Plus loan, the only limit to how much the parent can borrow is the cost of attendance of the school. With the student loans, there's those annual limits, but the parents can, lucky for the parents, can borrow up to the cost of attendance. This year's interest rate is 8.05% on the parent loan, which is, in a lot of cases, still lower than a private loan. There is an origination fee on the federal loans, and the repayment can be deferred. The student loans are automatically deferred. The parent loan, it's an option on the parent loan application. So for student borrowing with private loans, there's variable or fixed interest. You might get a better offer on a variable rate, but who knows where that rate will go. Almost all of the lenders will require a student to have a cosigner, and the repayment is part of the application process. You choose the plan you're going to go on, and they build the interest rate around how you will repay. And that's all through the individual banks. We've seen a lot more the past probably 5 or 6 years of credit union loans. A lot more credit unions are offering educational loans, and a lot of people are using that option. So if you are a member of a credit union, check with them if you're looking into student loans. So here's a comparison. This is from 21-22, but a comparison of, so the costs go up a little bit each year, but the difference between a SUNY school, a community college, and a private school, you can see the tuition is a lot different. The other items, and a lot of the community colleges, you'll live at home and commute, which is also an option at other schools, depending on, if you attend SUNY Oswego, then you can commute, which is a huge savings. As you can see, the room and board cost adds a lot, and that's a similar cost between the public and the private school. It's really the tuition that is the big factor. A great option for affordability is to attend a community college, get your two-year degree, and then transfer into a SUNY school. The community colleges, there's articulation agreements, so it covers your gen ed requirements, and it's a huge. A lot of the transfer students that we see who have lived at home and then transferred in have no loan debt. If you qualify for TAP and Pell, you could cover your whole, and that can also be the case sometimes at Oswego. If you are commuting, living at home, a lot of students can cover their whole bill with their grant money. Most schools have a time payment plan or a monthly installment plan, which is a good option. We see all kinds of combinations. We have divorced parents where one parent is taking out a parent loan, the other parent is using the time payment plan. Some people sign up for the time payment plan and realize they can't finish the last few payments, so they do a parent loan. So there's any combination of things that you can do that will work out. It will depend on the school. At Oswego, if your bill's not paid, we won't kick you out. Some schools don't do that. They will remove you from your classes if your bill's not paid. So this is the federal student aid, FSA, studentaid.gov, which I'll go to the website and show you. But this is where you can create your FSA ID, you can fill out your FAFSA, you can find answers to a lot of questions, you can apply for a parent loan. That's all on this federal website. And this is the New York State website. There's different, I'll show you I'll go to the website. But the student access is here, but then there's also links to applications. There will be a PDF of this presentation that Mrs. Roman will have online, as well as the other handout. But you can also email our office, financial.aid@oswego.edu. We are also available if you need help with your FAFSA, if you have questions. We've been for the past year in a temporary space that is very cramped quarters, so we used to have computers that you could come in and use and file your FAFSA, and we could help you, and we don't really have that space right now, but you can still make an appointment and we'll figure it out, or we can do a Zoom appointment. But we're happy. You don't have to be attending Oswego for us to help you. Just contact us, and we can, if you have questions about anything, or if you need help. I guess I won't show you that website. What? Oh, did I? Oh, thank you. So here, right at the top, is information about the new SAVE plan. So if we have any parents here tonight, or any of the older siblings who who have borrowed student loans and are in repayment, check out the SAVE plan. It's a good plan. So right here, you can apply for aid using your FAFSA. You can create your account. If you are borrowing, you will fill out a promissory note and do loan entrance counseling. There's you can apply for parent loans. You can get answers to most of your questions. They've, over the past 10 years, been combining. There used to be like 4 different sites that you had to go to, and finally, everything is in one place. Hopefully I could type correctly this time. Here's the New York State website, which make sure you use the link at the end of the FAFSA to do your TAP application when you complete your FAFSA. But here, students can log in, see the status of their application. Under Pay is where they have Apply for TAP, the Excelsior, under here somewhere. And sometimes the links are a little tricky, so the tab, if you don't use the link at the end of the FAFSA and you go to file your tab, you have to go all the way down, and it's just this little apply now down at the bottom. So any website or anything you're looking at, there's a lot that it's a little link way down at the bottom instead of, to get there is a big bold link, and then to find where you actually need to click, it's scroll. Students don't like to scroll, so we always get students who come in and, I can't find this, just scroll down the page. So that, I think, is my confused covering of the FAFSA simplification for next year. And I know it's a lot of information. So does anybody have questions? If anybody has specific questions that they don't want to ask in front of the room, you're welcome to come up here when we're done.
How's everybody doing? I was looking at the back of all your heads, but I have a senior too, so my eyes are probably like all of yours right now. It's a lot, and all the changes. I feel a little bit bad for Molly right now because we've seen changes like this before, and it's so hard to talk about them, but yet we want to provide information as best we can, and then sort of have to wait until it rolls out. But that said, I do, again, want to thank Molly for being here and sharing her information, especially all of her resources, which we will make available either by email or on our website. We've also recorded this, so you'll be able to watch it if you'd like, and of course everyone will see my blunder when I couldn't find my presentation, which makes me cringe, but it's okay. That's right. But also, most importantly, we will be having a forms workshop. We do have On Point for College, which is an organization that comes and helps us and helps our students a couple times a month. So they graciously help do these forms workshops. So we will advertise that. My guess is it will be sometime in January. And we did do it last year and had a handful of people that were relieved as they walked out the door with their FAFSA completed and TAP. So keep watch for that, and we will be making that available. Okay? So any other questions that anybody wants to ask for the order? Okay, well, have a wonderful evening. Again, thank you for joining us, and we hope that you're able to have a good visit with all of your teachers. Okay, thank you.